It's about that time.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another segment of City Views, our online edition, or as I've been broadcasting on my radio show, the anti-coronavirus episodes. Even though we are well aware of the virus, we are not in fear of the virus. In fact, this episode is bringing out a lot of those aspects of our community that are really stepping outside the box and doing some very cool and innovative things, which is one of the reasons that we're so very excited to bring to you our interview today. Before we get started, we want to give some props to our sponsor, Toth Insurance Agency, located at 1151 East Main Street in Torrington, Connecticut. For all your insurance needs, make sure that you check them out. My good friend Steve Toth and company will be more than happy to take care of you. I want to make sure that we give a shout out to the production team here at City Views, Catherine Pezzi, Meg Capon, Daniel Yannick, also affectionately known as Dan Yo, Dan Morrison, Dan Moe, Stephanie Barksdale, Doug Harrelson. Even though he's not here with us, we couldn't bring the show to you without him. And of course, and my co-hosts, the lovely and talented Melissa Crofts, and me, bro. So thank you guys. Appreciate it so much. So without further ado,
Go back.
This is going to be interesting. Sometimes, especially in these new innovative efforts, technical difficulties run amok. Nonetheless, that's what happens with live broadcasts. So you take it or you leave it. But we're taking it this afternoon, and we're so excited to bring to you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John Noelke. John, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is kind of an exclusive interview, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's the first live interview for sure, Jacques.
So we want to thank Meg Capon and her efforts and unity in the community to bring you to us at this time, because people have been asking me questions, John, and I know that we talked last week about giving some information as to what's going on. However, I didn't know it would happen the way it did, but that just shows you what Organic Roots is all about, right?
Yeah, you got to keep it organic for sure.
And I know that you definitely speak that language. But talk to our audience a little bit, John, about your efforts going on with the Howard's building and what got your interest and your ire up in acquiring the site.
Well, I was just in a situation where I was wanting to expand my Noelke Gallery site, and I wanted to stay downtown, Jacques, and I really wanted to be near the Naugatuck River. I mean, there's always another building down the line, but I'm dedicated to downtown and dedicated to the river. But I'll tell you one thing, people's response, Jacques, to the sense of place here has been really humbling to me. And I want to be clear with folks that I'm not going to remove the Howard sign. It's staying where it is.
Mm-hmm.
So to be unequivocal about that.
John, it's so great having you a part of the artistic landscape here in Torrington. And ever since you've come to the community, your commitment and standards to the arts is second to none. But I want our audience to get to know you a little more, not necessarily as the businessman, but more as the artist, the what is driving your passions and your wills to see that the arts can be a great connector for the community and bringing those sectors of the community together?
Well, I've got a master's degree from the School of the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, and my undergrad's from University of Texas. But the thing about Torrington, I've lived in New York City, I've lived in Boston, I've lived in Austin, Texas. But really, as an artist, you want room to roam and you want artistic freedom. The museum school had an aesthetic that, you pretty much were advised to be a part of. Boston has an aesthetic, New York has an aesthetic, but Torrington, artistically, you're free to go any direction you want. And that is very rare. And you've also got a chance. I mean, I'm very fortunate right now, but you've got a chance to get space. And you put those together and you really have something. And, we've got Bill C. Davis across the street. The playwright just got back from Paris putting on a production. I'm looking out the window at the Nutmeg Ballet. We've got the Warner Theater. And so what we've got here is the Reader's Digest condensed version of Boston, of New York, of Austin. But we've got actually much more freedom. And I think that's why you're seeing people gravitate to here and you're seeing this explosion. Musically, it's definitely happening. I mean, under the radar, it's like a renaissance going on. And now the visual arts are taking off.
Well, you're very aware of the three principles that are normally associated with successful business ventures, and that's location, location, location. And the Howard's building was, as I remember, I believe, was the first building, the first retail store that I purchased my first pair of shoes at when I moved to Torrington. And the building itself has so much sentimental value to the community of Torrington. And I think your efforts have proven once again that the artist renaissance that's taking place in Torrington and the Northwest corner is real.
Well, I mean, part of the conundrum that we're having, though, on another level is audience building. And I'll say in contemporary art, we have a crisis. It's a crisis of our own creation in that there's a separation between the audience and contemporary art. There just is. And I attribute that to the New York aesthetic that is coming out of such an urban area. But you're right. There's a 92-year-old man still alive that set the pins when he was a boy up in the bowling alley upstairs. And then you have someone like yourself, a much younger person, or a 30-year-old that got their first pair of shoes here. And so that's a 60-year span of history right there. It puts me in some ways in a difficult position because I don't want to mess up that history. I don't want to mess up the building. So it's not like I'm coming in and gutting the building and it's a much more careful process. But I'm getting emails from around the country, the Strogatz family, even Meara. I don't know much about the Meara family, and if any of them are listening to this, I really hope that they would contact me. I'd love to talk to them about their history. I'm learning more and more about the Howard history every day.
Well, I think it's interesting that the building itself and what it represents, and your approach to that is thematic to what's going on in Torrington in regards to how the different artists are structuring their projects. They're maintaining those previous contributions in a way to preserve the historical nature of those buildings. And that whole aspect of the artistic endeavor, you seem to be really in tune with. Talk to us a little bit, John, about how that carves out your artistic philosophy.
Are you referring to the sense of place aspect of it, Jacques?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I come from West Texas, and my family goes back to the 1840s down there. And so you know, when I go back down there, I sit down and have, I can't now because of Corona, but have coffee with the old cowboys, and they talk about my granddad. They know of my great granddad. And so even though I'm not from Torrington, I have hopefully a reverence for sense of place and how critical that is. Now, the problem we're having is that a lot of folks have stopped shopping downtown, and nobody really makes you do that. And people have to remember that, you know, your $4 expenditure, where you decide to spend that money is critical to all these small businesses. And that's the side of the coin that we're trying to turn to. But my personal sense of place actually comes from Texas and the Great Plains and that part. And I still go down there. I still have land there, and it's a big part of my spirit.
In regards to your place philosophy, John, as that extends out to the building, talk to us a little bit about the character of the building and what your vision is to incorporate your philosophy into the construct of the building.
Well, the building, you know, it's in pretty solid condition. One thing that's really beautiful about it is that every floor has its own personality. The basement was the men's department. The first floor was the big shebang with the chandelier lights. Second floor is offices and storage, and the third floor was the bowling alley. So every floor has its own personality, and but it's also they left probably 150 pairs of shoes, Jacque. It's almost like they put out their cigarette after lunch and went home and didn't come back. And it's a testament to American retail history that goes deeper than I thought. I mean, I'm standing in front of some files, sitting in front of some files right now. They probably have every name almost of every family that was in Torrington in that area and the region. People flock to the store, and it like I said, it's like they left 10 minutes ago, and so I'm preserving those artifacts. And then artistically, you know, you try to navigate that and incorporate that into what the building is going to be. And so we'll see about that. You know, that's a day-to-day thing almost. And I told Tracy O'Shaughnessy that. She said, "What are you going to do with the building?" And I said, I'm going to do what the building tells me to do.
Right.
Because it has such a prehistory. Now we're trying to go into the future at the same time, and we can't be so, you know, over romanticized about the past that we can't go forward.
Exactly.
And that's probably our basic conundrum. How do we go forward and have reverence for the past and build upon it? But you just can't give up on the downtown. I mean, the architecture is fantastic. I love the third floor because I'm a sucker for high ceilings and tin roofs and that kind of thing.
Plus, the view up there is outstanding.
Oh, yeah. You can see the river from both ends of the building, the back side and the front side. And but what's critical to me is to keep enough of the building intact so that when people come in, they remember standing in that spot when they were 4 years old, 7 years old. And so that's a weight of responsibility for sure.
Are you going to have, let's just say, a community-driven approach to how you incorporate your concepts into the building?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, what I was planning is, you know, almost from day one, just opening the doors and having, you know, $1 tour or something with ice cream, and letting people come down and walk through the building. Because of the Corona, we can't do that right now, but that day will come. You know, and that's what I'm hoping that people will do. And, you know, a guy came to me because I had the article in the paper, and his dad was a manager of a semi-professional basketball team that was owned by Howard Shoes in 1947.
Wow.
And he's got pictures of the team. It should be in the paper today or tomorrow. I had no idea that we had a semi-pro team. They played at the Armory. And so the type of history that's unfolding before me is just mind-boggling. I got a beautiful letter last night, email from a woman who came here when she was, 7 or 8, and she had extremely narrow feet. And Mr. Strograss would measure her and order specific shoes for her and her sister, and it just meant so much to her. And his kindness, and that's everything's a double-edged sword, Jacque. And we've lost a lot of retail business, but we've also lost kind of a compassionate ethic. And I think that's what your question is getting at. How do you recreate that compassionate ethic with a community? But I need people to come down. It's a catch-22. The businesses don't do well, so people don't come down. People don't come down, so the businesses don't do well. Something's got to give. And it's not about parking. Don't tell me it's about parking, because like I said, I'm in front of this file right now, every family in Torrington basically, and the parking wasn't different back then. You see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying. I think the advantage that you have in doing this, John, is that there is so much sentimental value to the building with the community that pretty much anything you decide to do with it will get a certain level of support. And I think to go along with that, it just kind of coattails off of the previous investments in the artistic structure of downtown, such as obviously the historic Warner Theater and the Nutmeg Ballet. But when you're talking about the Torrington Historical Society, when you're talking about Five Points Gallery, those are just examples of the grassroots investments that have gone into Torrington to give it the opportunity to have artistic outreach. And some of the new businesses that have come to town because of that outreach, such as, Sawyer's, Gerald Incadella in the space that he has, it just adds to that aspect of momentum and community building that helps to carve out Torrington's identity.
Well, that's right. And, the kind of, I guess, I'm the only guy that's come to Torrington that doesn't want to change Torrington. I've never seen a place where it seemed like people want to change it so badly. But my take on it, Jacque, is come downtown and enjoy your downtown. And that's what I do. Come have an espresso and enjoy this downtown. And sometimes there's fewer people, sometimes there's more people. I love it when it's quiet and a few people are walking around. I love it when it's busy. But the key, I think, is to enjoy it as you go. Enjoy that journey as it changes some, stays the same some. But Rich Carlson said that from Rich Carlson Heating and Cooling. Use him, he's good. But he said, your downtown should be your glory. And our ancestors, not my specific ancestors, but the ancestors, Torrington built this incredible downtown, and it wasn't easy. And the architecture is still here. The roads have been built. The river's been dammed. And then it's up to us to maintain it and to take it to the next step and to enjoy what they did, enjoy what we're doing.
Now, if you do have just a little more time to spend with us, John, talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges you're going to have in terms of, because the building is old, and, I'm sure that, the expenditures in terms of, renovating the building and bringing it up to, that aspect where you can entertain business proposals. What's going on with that situation? How do you look from there?
Meg Caven has been helping me with the business end of it. And, but my clientele, the thing about the arts is, for whatever, they say man cannot live by bread alone. But actually, we can go a long way with bread alone. But it's the person that's looking for life for whatever reason. And that can be a person from any walk of life. They walk into a gallery. If you go into a gallery, you go to a concert, you go to poetry, at that point you're looking for life. And that's my clientele, but that's also what we offer, you know, and that's what Rich Carson was saying, your glory. And I can't quantify that or calibrate it. And you never know when it's going to happen. But I will say there's a core community here. You're one of them. Meg is one of them. Ronna Justice, Amelia Ellis, Judy, the mayor, on and on, that are, for whatever reason, dedicated to this downtown. And it's really neat to be a part of a community like that. And all you have to do is come down and pitch in if you want to be a part of it. But on a real practical level about the building, I'm glad you brought it up. What I need is a hot air commercial furnace.
Okay.
So I had one and still in a box, but it was a boiler, not a furnace. If you have one, contact me, because that's the first order of business, is getting a furnace in here. So I'm just putting that out there.
Well, I see you got Bill Haygood working with you there, and if there ever was the proverbial Johnny on the spot, that's the man. Contributed countless hours in helping the transition of art space to Five Points Gallery to now the 5 Points Center for the Visual Arts. Just an invaluable member of our community, and also a fellow artist.
Well, yeah, no, Bill is not an artist. He's an art collector, which is even better in my book. But he, you know, the building needs some maintenance, and some of the lower sashes were falling apart, you know, from over time. And he just has come in and volunteered to fix those, mill them down. You could probably hear his sander in the back right now, working on them. But he won the Culture Award last year, and I said, you're trying to get back-to-back Culture Awards, and boy, he deserves it. But he's saving me hundreds, thousands of dollars, because to replace all those windows would just be cost prohibitive, you know. And so I don't know what to, that's just great luck. But Bill is awesome. But you know, that's what it takes with the downtown. Everyone's got an idea, which is awesome, but sometimes you got to roll up your sleeves, Jacques, and get out the sander and get out the paintbrush, and a gallon of paint goes a long way, you know.
My friendship with Bill goes back quite a few years, and our service on the Arts and Culture Commission, we always knew that it would be the start of some pretty big things here in the city. And I guess you got to have those ambers of hope to really get the outreach there to make an impact in the community. And I remember when we started the Arts and Culture Commission, it was pretty much right at that time, similar to now, when we were going through a serious economic crisis. And sometimes diamonds are forged out of the rough. So indeed it's the case with your situation in the Howard's building.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got it nail on the head with the ambers of hope. And if anybody out there, an entrepreneur that has, you know, a spark of an idea that they want to do, bring it to me and we'll talk about it. But the other thing I want to put out there is I'm looking for someone who has a artistic connection to Mexico City. I'm interested in getting some art shipped up from Mexico City. I'm from Texas, but I don't have a connection to Mexico City, Jacques. So I would bet there's somebody in Bantam or somewhere that's going back and forth to Mexico City. But there's a very vibrant contemporary art scene in Mexico City. But I would just like to get that cultural connection and something a little bit unique there. So if it, you know, that's what I need, a gas-fired furnace and a connection to Mexico City. I'm really asking for little things, you know.
Well, this little thing could turn into a huge boom for the city of Torrington, especially if it starts raising similar interests in the Yankee Peddler. So you never can tell. You might have started something really big here, John.
You know, I like what you're saying about the big part, but people really need to remember that it's not that complicated. Your $4 expenditure, think about where you're spending that, please, because that makes all the difference to these small businesses. that everybody, wants to think about the grandest scale, which is good, but that $4 doesn't seem like much, but it really is if you spend that downtown, and it really adds up. And so I'm just putting that out there too.
Not a problem, John. Hey, thank you so much for your time today, and we appreciate all your efforts. Give our best to the crew down there at Noelke Gallery, Rana, and everyone, and your beautiful wife Lisa, and all the peeps at OCIB.
Okay, great. And just one final thing too about the community. At some point, we're going to have a storytelling night here where people can come down, and we'll have a stage set up, and we'll have some coffee and whatnot, and then people can tell their stories, Jacque, of coming to Howard.
It's about that time.
That'll be very cool.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
What's happening in your city? City Views.
So once again, we're wishing each and every one of you the very, very best. Stay safe, stay sound, stay hunkered down until it's time to rise again. In the meantime, we'll see you back with more right here on City Views. I'm Jacque Williams. Peace out.